dancers came out during the curtain call just as they always do. The characters of Hermia and Lysander in Roanoke Ballet's recent production of A Midsummer's Night Dream ran out and they bowed. The cheers were loud. The rest of the cast came out and the loudest cheer remained the one for Hermia and Lysander. If you happened to catch the performance last weekend, you might know why. These characters were performed by two of our Raleigh Court members, Will and Caitlin Smith. On Friday night, several Raleigh Court members were delighted to find one another at the performance. We chatted during intermission, waved across the auditorium, and afterwards gathered in the lobby to wait for Caitlin and Will. We were grateful to be able to surprise them with so many of us there that day. Here were a handful of people who know them and love them, and while all were excited for a night out at the ballet, there was also excitement to celebrate a part of our family as they got to do what they love in a big way for the first time in so many months. On Sunday, Roanoke was caught up in offering hospitality for the Ironman. Several Raleigh Court members raced on that day. I have to give a shout out to two of the deacons who did it all on their own, and the relay team, RCPC, who came in fourth overall in the relay. Folks rushed after church down to the Ironman village to celebrate folks as they reached the end. People dotted the sides of the greenway at Wasena Park and at Memorial, cheering those along as they completed the half marathon portion of the course. Members of the congregation volunteered for the race, ensuring runner safety and hydration, and provided friendly faces of encouragement along the way. Both of these events were overwhelmingly beautiful events of community that have been greatly missed during COVID. The physical act of showing up for one another, sharing in life, watching, witnessing, and cheering for one another. This felt like the long-awaited celebration with our family. After being there for so many of the lows, the conversations about uncertainty, when will be the next time we get to perform? Uncertainty in their training, will they be prepared enough? Will they be able to handle the heat? What will it actually be like? Jesus and his disciples shared in the good and the bad of life together, the ups and the downs in life and in ministry. He called them friends and he modeled a way of togetherness that transferred into the early church's way of being together and is what we strive for as well. Before Jesus' death, he gave the disciples a new commandment. Let me give you a new command. Love one another, just as I loved you, so that you might love one another. This is how everyone will recognize that you are my disciples, when they see the love you have for each other. Jesus came so that he may show us how to love. This sort of love is difficult to give and to receive. It's a love that requires humility and forgiveness, patience and perseverance. It's a love that in whatever shape it takes involves a lot of showing up for one another. And that's what this past weekend looked like. Living out our love for our church family in a variety of ways through showing up for one another. It's not always the easiest thing to do. It's not always what comes naturally. We're prone to excuses and finding workarounds. Yet we know Jesus' love for us, and so we too tried to show it to others. In Paul's letter to the Ephesians, he writes, his prayer is that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith, as you are being rooted and grounded in faith, as you are being rooted and grounded in love. As we watched folks show up for one another again and again this weekend, we grew our roots, grounding ourselves to this faith, tethering ourselves to one another and to God, reminding ourselves of God's unending love and doing what we can to share that love with all others. This past weekend, we might have viewed what we did as just something to do, something we were curious about, or a much-needed night out. But at the end of the day, stepping out and showing up for both our Raleigh Court family and for all those involved with these events was an act of making God's love known on earth as we celebrated these days together. In a news article about the Ironman event, Curlian Clinic Chief Medical Officer Patrice Weiss was quoted as saying, "You want to talk about a city rallying around an event? This is it, man." And it was. The community rallied around. We showed up for one another. And after a long time of not being able to physically show up for one another, there was much joy and beauty and celebration in these 2 days. So may we hold on to Paul's vision for us, and may we hold on to Jesus' commandment. May we remember Jesus has loved us so that we too can go love. So as we go into today, may we find ways to show this love to all who need.